Ukraine's latest drone strike on Russia has disrupted a key oil pipeline to Europe, underlining how Kyiv is targeting Russia's energy revenues while putting pressure on European supplies. This action comes after Russia had launched an attack on Ukraine. Now, at the same time, North Korea has staged a ceremony to honor its troops fighting alongside Russian forces in Ukraine. The rare public display of support reflects the growing alignment between Russia and North Korea. Now, while the world speaks on Russia and Ukraine, on the home front, octogenarian Biya's run for another term at the October general elections has received utmost rejection by Ambazonians. Is Biya's bid as a presidential candidate legal, especially in the front of war, struggles, and humanitarian challenges in Ambazonia? Well, as we dive into the details, these and many more will be explored in today's Flash News. Good afternoon and welcome. I am Thabita Arko. Let's begin. The United States President Donald Trump suggested in a social media post that President Zelensky may need to launch an attack on Russia to win the war. Could that be the reason for the recent strike? We see that Ukrainian drones struck the unnatural oil pumping station in Russia's Bryansk region, causing a large fire and disrupting flows through the Druzhba pipeline, one of Europe's main crude supply routes. Let's take a look. You've just seen an intense strike on Russian oil. Meanwhile, Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter confirmed on Friday that deliveries of Russian oil to Hungary through the pipeline were halted following the attack near the Russian-Belarus border. The Druzhba network is critical to Hungary and Slovakia, the only European Union states still heavily reliant on Russian pipeline oil. Now, as the war reaches almost its fourth year, Ukraine has intensified strikes on Russian energy infrastructure, targeting facilities that generate significant revenue for the Kremlin's war effort. Oil and gas exports account for about a quarter of Russia's state budget. We see that these attacks come after Russia has launched a prior attack on Ukraine as peace efforts continues. Let's take a listen.
The Russians knew exactly where they were hitting, and it was a missile strike. We believe that it was a targeted strike specifically on American property here in Ukraine, on American investments. A very indicative strike, like this whole massive attack, just when the world expects a clear answer from the Russians, an answer regarding the negotiations to end the war.
Ukrainians have also made a lot of statements about this attack, but then North Korean leader Kim Jong held a ceremony in Pyongyang to honor troops who fought alongside Russian forces in Ukraine. According to state media, reports said about 600 of the 15,000 North Korean soldiers deployed to Russia have been killed in a combat. Now let's take a look at the video of the aftermath of the Russian attack on civilians.
Cover.
This is the second time. The first was in July. That time was loud too, but I wasn't home. The situation was similar, but nothing in my apartment was damaged then. The neighbours took some damage, but this time everyone did. I was first at home and only afterwards went down to shelter, after people helped me to get out because I could not open the door. After the second explosion, neighbours were running around and looking for a tool to open my door. I got so scared. It was horrible. It was very scary.
That was a disheartening situation right there for the Ukrainians. But then looking at North Korea, it was a heartwarming welcome, but then a thoughtful one by North Korean president. We see that the development comes as Russia continues to resist European peace initiatives, while Ukraine faces ongoing missile and drone assault on its cities and infrastructures. Now, what comes next? What do we expect at this? Well then, before we get to that, let's move over to Gaza. Let's take a listen to this video.
But I've said that this war could end today. It can end it if Hamas lays down its arms and releases the remaining 50 hostages, at least 20 of which are alive. And that's our goal, to get all the hostages out, to disarm Hamas, demilitarize Gaza, and give a different future for Gazans. And by the way, you'd be surprised, Sherry, I don't think this was true when I last met you.
Israel prepares a major ground operation in Gaza City. And you've just listened to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He is set to give final approval for a full military takeover of Gaza City, signaling a significant escalation in the war against Hamas. We say that the large-scale operation could begin within days, following limited troop movement already on the way in the Ziotion neighborhood at the Jabalia refugee camp. The Israeli military says it intends to advance into areas where ground forces have not previously entered and where Hamas is believed to maintain command and governance structures. Netanyahu has also indicated that negotiations will resume with the aim of securing the release of remaining hostages, alongside efforts to end the war under Israeli terms. As it drew concerns also on Israel's democracy and the call for a two-state Palestinian. In an interview with Sky News, let's take a listen.
Israel is a small democracy, the only democracy in the Middle East that is being assaulted by terrorist organizations and other proxies of Iran and by Iran itself. And they openly call for our destruction. And they openly say that you, the West, will be their next target. And what do these countries do? Exactly what the Western countries did towards Czechoslovakia before World War II. They're condemning Israel. They want to put Israel at tremendous risk by giving this strategic piece of land right next to Jerusalem and Tel Aviv to these Palestinians who want to destroy Israel. They don't even hide it. Well, we're not going to do that. And we're not going to repeat the mistakes that were made prior to World War II.
The latest moves comes after Israel called up 6,000 additional reservists and extended the service of 20,000 more to reinforce the offensive. Officials have urged medical workers and international agencies in northern Gaza to evacuate ahead of the expanded assault. Meanwhile, Arab mediators reported that Hamas has accepted a ceasefire proposal that, if agreed to by Israel, could avert the operation. Airstrikes continue across the enclave, with reports from Al-Aqsa Hospital in Deir al-Balah that at least 100 tents sheltering displaced families were destroyed. The offensive has drawn growing international criticism, with government and humanitarian agencies warning of catastrophic consequences for civilians as food and medicine supplies remain heavily restricted. However, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has refuted these claims of food restrictions and starvation in this interview we just listened to, but then let's take a listen to what he has to say at this point.
It's the same lies that were leveled at the Jewish people in the Middle Ages. They said that Jews were killing Christian children to use their blood. This preceded a lot of massacres against the Jews, culminating in the worst massacre of them all in the Holocaust. So it's the same thing. It's repeating itself. Israel is starving Palestinian children. What lies? I mean, we brought in 2 million tons of food into Gaza since the beginning of the war. That's 1 ton of food per every man, woman, and child. Hamas has been stealing this food and selling the remainder at exorbitant prices to the Palestinian civilians they claim to represent. That's what's causing the shortage. And as far as killing deliberately civilians, I mean, Israel has sent millions and millions of text messages, phone calls to Palestinian civilians telling them, get out of harm's way. Hamas has implanted itself in your neighborhoods, in your schools, in your communities. Get out of harm's way so that we can shepherd you to safe places. And many did, but many didn't, not because they don't want to, but because Hamas shoots them if they try to get out of harm's way. So Israel is doing things that no army has done. No army has done in trying to avoid civilian casualties. Just remember the allies going into...
Now moving over to California in the United States, Erik Menendez, who along with his brother Leo has served 35 years of a life sentence for killing their parent in 1989. They were denied parole on Thursday after a lengthy hearing before California commissioners. The decision followed a 10-hour session in which Menendez, appearing by video from Rita Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego, argued that he had been rehabilitated. Several family members also urged the board to release him, saying he had paid his debt to society. Commissioners, however, ruled that Menendez continues to pose a risk to public safety. They cited past violations of prison rules, including drug smuggling, possession of a cell phone, and violent incidents in 1997 and 2011. Officials emphasized that the denial was based on his conduct in custody rather than the severity of the crime. Menendez, now 54 years, and his brother, 57, were convicted of fatally shooting their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, in their Beverly Hills home while the couple watched television. The brother said they acted out of fear after years of abuse, while prosecutors argued the murders were financially motivated. Originally sentenced in 1996 to life without parole, both men received new terms of 50 years to life in May under California law recognizing offenders who were under 26 at the time of their crimes. That change made them immediately eligible for parole consideration. Family members expressed forgiveness during the hearing, with some saying they hope to reunite with him outside prison. The parole board is set to review Lil Menendez's case on Friday. Meanwhile, Erik Menendez will be eligible to reapply in 3 years. Now, this is the situation in California, a thoughtful one, but then still painful, we would say, but we hope that the law takes its course. Now, moving over to a recent report from the home front, we see Paul Biya's 8th-term bid faces legal challenge as Ambazonians reject election. President Paul Biya, who is 92 years, faces a major legal challenge to his candidacy in Cameroon's October presidential election. Akereta Beng Muna, a prominent opposition figure and former president of the Bar Association, has filed a petition before the Constitutional Council seeking to declare Biya ineligible under Article 118 of the Electoral Code. He cites the president's advanced age, recurring health absences, and reliance on aids as grounds for disqualification. The court is scheduled to rule on the matter on Friday at 11 a.m. at the Palais des Congrès in Yaoundé. The controversy adds to doubts already surrounding the electoral process. The Constitutional Council recently upheld the exclusion of Biya's main challenger, Maurice Kamto, from the ballot. Human Rights Watch criticized the move, and pro-Kamto demonstrations in Yaoundé were dispersed by security forces using tear gas. Now, in the southern Cameroon regions, however, the election itself is widely dismissed. Ambazonian leader President Samuel Ikome Sako has consistently rejected any suggestion of participation, stating that Ambazonians remain engaged in a struggle for self-determination. For Ambazonian activists, the issue is not only who contests the presidency, but whether the decades-long conflict and demands for autonomy will ever be addressed. They argue that another election under Biya, an absent and inactive octogenarian, in their view, cannot bring legitimacy or peace. Biya, who has ruled since 1982, is among the world's longest-serving and oldest heads of state. His candidacy was confirmed earlier this month, despite increasing concerns of governance, health, and national unity. As we all await the Constitutional Council's decision, the political divide deepens. For some, the ruling could mark a rare challenge to Biya's grip on power. For others, particularly in Ambazonia, in a country divided by war, unrest, and demands for self-rule, is it not time for dialogue rather than another election under Biya's regime? A critical question right there. Now, moving over to Africa. In Africa, West Africa faces rising health risks from unregulated sexual stimulants. Concerns are growing across West Africa over the widespread use of unregulated sexual stimulants that health experts warn are causing severe and sometimes life-threatening side effects. A recent New York Times investigation revealed that products marketed as 100% natural herbal remedies for male virility are leaving users with alarming health problems. Men have reported uncontrollable drooling, severe migraines, dangerous prolonged erections, and increased risks of heart attacks. In Ivory Coast, health officials found that Undaunted, a popular sexual stimulant drink, contains sildenafil, the active ingredient in Viagra, at levels up to 8 times higher than the recommended dose. The pills are reportedly manufactured in India, smuggled into the country, crushed, and mixed with other ingredients before being sold locally for about $1.50. The same product is sold on Amazon, Walmart, and other online platforms for as much as $15 in France and $20 in the United States. That's why being advertised as natural, ingredient details are not listed on the bottles. Now, the United Nations estimates that nearly half of all drugs in West Africa are unregulated, contributing to already 500,000 deaths annually. Sexual stimulants such as Undaunted are among the most commonly reported substances linked to health complications. Although Ivorian authorities suspended the production of Undaunted earlier this year, citing false advertising and serious health risks, including death, demand for the product remains high across the region. This is a critical one, and then Africa would need to take cautions when taking medications as this. Now, until next time, this is where we're drawing the curtain on today's flash news. Remember, we'll be having Horizon at the top of the hour, 6 p.m. Until then, do have a pleasant day.